So if you are in a military installation and you need help, you can pick up any military phone, you dial 988.
Alrighty.
Hey guys, welcome to Whiskey, Lead, and Steel.
Feeling short while you wait. The official podcast of Aggressive Defensive Solutions.
There's not going to be any hurt feelings today.
Good.
This is the whole point. So it's the beginning of September, and September is Suicide Awareness Month. And I don't, ever talk about the things that I do other than Aggressive Defensive Solutions.
Yeah.
And it's not because, it's a big secret, but, right, it's the other part of my life.
Yep.
But one of the things that I work on in that other life is I do some consulting work with the Veterans Crisis Line. So every week I'm going to call with the VA folks who help make sure that the Veteran Crisis Line, or as some people want to call it, the suicide hotline, make sure that it works.
Yeah.
Right. So my consulting is not in the mental health aspect of it, but the technical aspect of when you pick up the phone and you dial digits that actually gets to a counselor.
Yeah.
And you and I were in the military in a time where any discussion of mental health was taboo.
Oh yeah. And same thing with almost my entire career.
Your entire career, right, as a cop. Right? So thankfully, I think we're at the point now that the military and most law enforcement has we've reached a point where we've accepted that bad things happen and people need assistance.
Yeah.
So, but again, back to some of what I do on the job is it's making sure that the military can pick up a phone. So if you are in a military installation and you need help, you can pick up any military phone, you dial 988, and that call will go immediately to the Veterans Crisis Line. Right? It's direct access to the Veterans Crisis Line. If you pick up from your mobile phone or a commercial POTS line for our military folks, don't know what that means, right? You'll hit the call center, hit 1, and that sends you to the Veterans Crisis Line. So it's a lot of stuff where people, here's this number, or here's this other number. But, last year in the United States, we launched the 988 system, right? Similar to the 911 system. But here's something that's very different, because I work on both of those systems. When you call 911, people that call 911, they want to be found.
Yes.
Right? Huge part of what I do in my job is making sure that location information gets all the way to the call handling folks. If you call 988 and you're looking for mental health help, a lot of that is you want some anonymity.
Yep.
So in that,
Putting feelers out.
while we talk about and you hear people talk about 911 and 988, right? They're being modeled after one another. They're very, very, very different systems. And if you call 988, there is anonymity to those calls. Your caller ID will get sent, but your location data is not sent to a call handling system. So it's just kind of important, to talk about that. So it is something that I think is near and dear, because, as I started to say, throughout definitely the early part of our military careers, the discussion of mental health was it was taboo. Right? Yeah. And if you sought help, you immediately were going to lose your clearance.
Yep.
And there's a really, really good chance that they were just going to kick you out of the military.
Yep.
And I know you, from a law enforcement standpoint, very, very similar thing.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. It was, and I think during that time frame, I think we either inherited or developed, and I'm not going to say that they weren't to a degree effective, probably unhealthy coping skills and coping methodologies. But there was something there. I think at some stage of the game, I don't know what happened. I'm not going to throw rocks at society. But I think at some point in time, in both our military careers and certainly in my law enforcement career, there reached a point where nobody had bad coping skills. Nobody had good coping skills. There was just this desert of shit. What do I do? Because when we let's call it straight. So we're both Cold War guys from an initial standpoint. So when we were young military guys, there were dudes who were Nam vets.
Oh yeah.
You know, who had come home from Nam and had figured out a way to tamp down or hit a pressure valve when they needed to, whatever it was. Wasn't necessarily the most effective thing, but they were there and they kind of taught, when there was a little bit of stress, they taught us some of that stuff. And then those guys cycled out. And then there were those of us who were in Desert Storm. And there's some bad shit that happened in Desert Storm, but it's not like having been a tunnel rat in Vietnam, for Christ's sake. Right? Or, you know, having flown multiple tours over Vietnam, whatever.
Or this last 20 years.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah. And so now we've got this last 20 years, but somewhere between 1995 and in 2004,
right,
there was not a lot of in-house institutional, hey, how do you deal with this? And I even found this out with the police department when I first became a cop. Choir practices were the thing that was how you handled that. And then police departments pushed everybody out of choir practices. So then there were no choir practices. And because there were no choir practices, none of the new guys got taught coping skills.
Right.
So now, instead of, as they had in the old days, they got off work and they went out in the parking lot and they blew off steam, and they had the conversation a couple of times with a couple of different guys about, you know, the dead baby case or whatever it was. And then they got that out of the system. There were no choir practices, so they just got home and they went in their car. They got in their car and they went home.
Right.
And a lot of that same thing I think happened early on as the global war on terror kicked off, and you know, and so, but now thankfully, you know, all the big tough guys, you know, that we all looked up to, they all went, oh no, there's bad shit out there, and it leaves scars and it leaves wounds that we can't see. And rather than saying, dude, suck it up, don't be a pussy, we've come to the realization of it's a far better thing to do, not only as a human being, but realistically, so we can keep our people on track to go, all right, so here's how you talk your way through that. And one of the things that we talk about, and I'm glad you brought this up, one of the things that we talk about in the whole mental preparation for carrying a weapon for defensive purposes, right? We talk about all of the stuff that occurs left of bang, and we talk all about what's going on at the point of bang. And then one of the things that I know we talk about, I don't know if anybody else does, but I know we do, is what you do right of bang. How do you prepare yourself for the criminal case? How do you prepare yourself for the civil case? And then how do you prepare yourself to get on with your life and live your life beyond what is, if you're John Q. Citizen and you've had to engage in a defensive technique, what is likely to be the most horrible portion of your life? Well, if you're military, even if you didn't deploy, there's a better than average chance that you've gone out and seen some shit that is horrible and has a cumulative effect. And it's not insurmountable as long as you understand how to climb up that hill. And if you understand that there are people who have already gone up that hill who are staged and ready to help you get up the hill, you can get up the hill, you can get over the hill. And, then it doesn't look like Mount Kilimanjaro all the time. So, yeah, if you need some help. And I don't think there's the stigma that there was.
No. So
And that's the big thing.
So really, those of us that really predated the global war on terror,
Yeah.
right? That was the latter part of our career.
Yeah.
Look, we lied on our health assessments.
Oh, yeah.
We had to, because if you didn't lie on your health assessment, there's so many soldiers that were summarily kicked out of the military because they sought mental health help between 2004, 2008, 9.
Yeah.
And it was around that time that things started to change a little bit, right? From a big DoD perspective, the VA really came on strong.
Yeah.
And in my previous job, right, they actually built the VA call center. And now it's expected. You go seek help, get help. But I say I say the stuff that I say about there's a level of anonymity to it. We went through the years of the 22 a day, this, that, and the other, and a lot of people don't really understand where that stat comes from. So the stats of losing 22 veterans a day was not our GWAT veterans. Those were the aging Vietnam era veterans. By and large, those that were committing suicide at that rate were the ones that were late 60s, in their 70s. They've struggled with health issues. They've struggled with mental health issues. They've struggled with the VA. They've struggled with acceptance, right? And then it just got to where it was.
Yeah.
The younger generation is doing a little bit better, but I just as we kick off, this month, really, I want to go. This is important, right?
Yeah.
Your health is important. I saw a reel earlier today from whatever his name is, but it's Mandatory Fun Day, right, on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Everybody listening is going to know who and he's done several along, of course, he is a big advocate of mental health awareness. But, he played his typical two character role there. And, talk about dark humor and substances. How do you cope? Dark humor and substances. Well, the dark humor is okay, but how about we don't do the substances?
Yeah.
Right. So, my thing to everyone out there is we care. We care about everybody out there. And it's okay to use the dark humor. But if you're struggling, you can pick up the phone, 988, press 1 if you're a veteran, 2 if you're not. It can't get any more simple than that. And talk to somebody. There's no stigma to it.
Nope.
So, yeah. Like I said, not much to harp here on other than take care of yourself this month and take care of yourself this week, and we'll see you next week.
Be safe out there.
So if you are in a military installation and you need help, you can pick up any military phone, you dial 988, and that call will go immediately to the Veterans Crisis Line.